Welcome to John Rhodes and Clara Sue's Open Mic Poetry Podcast TV show. There are numerous places on the web where you can visit us. If you are a public access producer and would like to download broadcast quality shows for your city, you can from pegmedia.org. If you are just a viewer and want a rerun, go to mysticbabylon.podomatic.com. I, John Rhodes, have many other sites, including a podcast novel site, which you can find out more about by visiting rhodespoetry.com. For more about the other host, Clara Sue, go to clarasue.com. The show will start shortly. Hi there, this is John Rhodes with the San Francisco Open Mic Poetry Podcast TV show, co-hosted by Clara Sue. Today, the two featured poets are Ken Saffran in my segment and Celine Steese in Clara Sue's segment. One compliment I have for Ken, who will read in my segment, is that in the open mics when Ken reads his poetry, it is always a pleasure and is always deeply emotional and cohesive. I had one question for you, Ken, before you start reading. You had been published just as of lately in the Haight-Ashbury Literary Journal. Now, did you just submit your poetry, or?
Yes, I just sent it in like anyone else, and
you had also been published by them earlier in '88 or something?
yes, I had, and at the time, I just did the same thing. I submitted it, but at the time, I actually lived next door to one of the editors.
Oh, okay.
So I just, shoved my submission under the door.
Was that Alice Rogoff by any chance?
No, that was, what was her name? She had a very interesting name. Indigo Hotchkiss.
Oh, I've heard of her, yeah.
Indigo was an editor at the time,
Okay.
and so I just shoved it under her door, and when I got the acceptance, she just shoved it back under my door. So we saved lots of postage.
Okay, so thank you, Ken, and now we will fade from this shot, and shortly you shall read your poetry. Thank you.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank John for hosting this poetry show, because as we all know, poets are sort of a different lot. And although we can pass for the most part, we're really not the same as everybody else. And so the first poem I'm going to read today, I think, sort of speaks to that a little bit. It's a very short poem. It's called Indifferent to My Kind. I admire vegetables for their ability to stay in the rows where they have been planted, even when they think no one is watching. I also admire a dripping faucet. And this is called Waiting for the Moon. Stars spilling from pockets. She keeps the sky inside, not the sea, no matter how it sparkles. Disappointed, the sea tries to slink away, but she holds it close, strokes its belly, listening for the purr. When they sing in the moonlight, ferns and trees sway because they cannot dance. First light, then sun, writhing on the sea, pulls itself up. Watch if you dare. Sun invents claws. Claws need blood. Sun invents shadows. That's where we are now, waiting for the moon. Secrets over bitters. What if the open door blocks the window and closing the door lets the sun in? Where do you want to live? Choose who you share crowds with, who you share secrets with, the next round of drinks. When the light matches the wine, the time is right. when it matches your eyes, it's too late. And this is called After the Museum. How a parasol filled with light is too much for details to settle in the painting. How her dark eyes are far away and still. How the dress follows her contours and wishes she moved like the rain we will never see. Where is the wind? Only now, here among the tall late grass, she is, again, filled with private loss and future plans. So, we're sitting in our favorite cafe, talking this talk, and we think we're cool, debating chromatic variation and how a certain progression of geometric shapes affects our emotions. When who blows out of the fog? The poet of the spaces between and the all-sax man on their way to a reading. In this town, everyone is someone on their way somewhere. They invite us along. And with her words, the poet makes a blue anticipation swirl, and the gold light of the all-sax man fills even the dark corners of the bar. I'm not making this up. Others noticed it too. And this is the light that painters search for. It fills our glasses faster than we can empty them, fills us with a spirit that will carry us into cold apartments and keep us warm under thin blankets. And this is called Occasionally Mosquitoes. Disembodied voices and incessant odd rumbles from the TV fill the room. I quickly tire of this, leave it. On, it imagines I want adventures with all my pretty friends. We never worry about money, and no one who matters ever dies. Unless the network and the actor are feuding. Even then, characters live on in syndication, canned as the laughter following mediocre jokes, or holding the perfect furniture polish. I walk outside in the dark, and the quiet almost knocks me over until I learn to listen small. The crickets are a domestic Greek chorus. No great tragedies to comment on, which is fine. Fireflies trace words I could almost speak. Some nights, big-bosomed fog sings its one note until it thins to a pizzicato string. Tonight the sky, cool and ardent as a cat, purrs for just the attention I want to give. Up to my ankles in grass, the occasional mosquito, and cars on the road for distraction. Constellations spill from a teacup, swirl their smoky taste with each breath. The trees, prophetic as tea leaves, tell me the trials of this world will never end. But always there will be these nights where the sky kneels at my feet. And this one is called Betty Jane. Here, a pretty young brunette freshly permed, in a rowboat near the tree-lined shore, plaid shirt and rolled up jeans, smiling directly at the camera. And I think, who could not fall in love with her? This picture was taken before I was born by a man not yet my father. This woman is younger than I am and always will be. When no one remembers her, who will they see? A pretty young brunette in love. No day is ordinary. She is not, smiling at the camera, but the person behind it. The lake is much the same today as during all those summers I spent there as a boy, held by the light in trees without thinking, these days last forever. They just do. And this one is called Fly Away, I'm Home. Things that should be obvious, like the sky is so deep when geese call to each other. Their voices a signal to morning frost. Or is it the change of weather that calls, giving jays and maples the cold shoulder? Despite its emptiness, the sky is close. Wind pulls at the grass, which will not let go, and we keep raking leaves which have let go. Our next-door neighbor bought a leaf blower after he complained they were too noisy. Though I enjoy the quiet talk of rakes, you say you prefer the smells of spring. With leaf smoke in your hair, I realize whichever way the geese are heading is home. Okay, and I have one more. Although I have to say, this poem goes on forever. It's called Good Luck with That. Not us among torn ovals of tired tread spattering highways. In the orange gold afternoon, we lay our pearl-colored eggs, then watch our ungainly ducklings try to soar over the blue tenements of hope we perch atop. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken, for your poetry. I'm going to read one poem. I'm sort of testing it out on you. I haven't read this in public, this poem. And the poem is called Death and Denial. The Nile is a mean river. Its flows will please, but its trials and tribulations bring its people to their knees. The Nile's ways are not meant for the faint of heart, as the slave farmer and peasant don't always attribute beauty to its tributaries, nor its random flowing do they consider as something as striking as a great art. The river's path doesn't seem to follow a special course created by some spiritual guide, and even rulers who honor the river steep themselves in false pride. The heart of the river seems so much like the compassionate giver, but when it turns on you like the two-faced Janus, it asks all to state clearly first whether they are lily-livered. The Nile can be nourishment to the crops, and its flows tug at our souls, but one possesses an unobtainable goal if one wishes to tame the Nile River as a whole. One must accept the truth that when the river claimed our souls in droughts and floods, it was so unself-conscious that contriteness it did not learn to extol. Ships sail elegantly on the Nile, but when the river is riled, nothing will stop the river's wrath, and will even drown the Pharaoh and his servants, even when they are as a rarity, contrite, mild-mannered, and servile. It is not odd that unbecoming chaos never affects the Nile. No manner of abject effect from the result of chaos ever makes the river the Nile object, as its non-contrition makes its denial cause more destruction all the while. Rather than depend on the whole river, perhaps a small well would suffice and would serve a purpose better than the whole of the Nile that only beguiles. The river is so possessive as its ruthless power can be felt in the delta mile after mile. If only a few drops of water would quench when the floods are so vile. Even the pharaohs drown in the Nile's pleasure. The river turns to a frown, even Cleopatra's smile, as the blood of suicide falls on the river's holy tile. Thank you. The next segment with Clara Sue will start shortly. Thank you.